What's up, guys? I got a League video today. I haven't been putting out a lot of League content lately just because League has been very frustrating to play. Support is not fun to play. It's very hard to carry as a support in solo queue. I tried playing a lot of the quote-unquote meta and OP supports. Um, and I found that I couldn't impact the game with those champions. Mostly because a lot of times the games were decided by factors outside of my lane. In the majority of my games, the enemy bot lane played super passive if I was playing one of these OP supports, and they usually had their jungler camp them. So it was essentially a 3v2 for half the game in bot lane. So oftentimes there was no way that I could get any lead in the bot lane aside from just the fact that I'd be applying pressure on the map, forcing the enemy jungler to come down and making the enemy bot lane just have a rough time. But overall, the game was decided in mid-top and just the jungle interacting with them. I'll talk about staying the blue buff in a second. That was an accident, by the way. But yeah, so I've been trying to play other. I've been trying to play champions that are still effective in the laning phase, but have the ability to do something in team fights. So I've been trying to play Nami and more recently Sona. So I accidentally took the blue buff from Yi. But I have experience accidentally taking blue buffs when I'm playing a mage support. So I know that if I've got a blue buff, I'm going to have to utilize it. And you can see that I am just non-stop poke, 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 poke. I'm also healing at the same time. And Swain's doing a good job getting his E's down. This enemy bot lane isn't like amazing. I had to flash away there just because I wasn't expecting the Draven heal to come out. I wasn't thinking about it. But yeah, you can see that it's going pretty well right now. We will out-sustain them by default. So we have that advantage. And we under tower, so we can poke them back a little bit, even though it's supposed to be the other way around. The only poke that they have is Fiddlesticks, and Sona can poke at a really long range, and since I have pretty much infinite mana right now, I can kind of do whatever I want. So, yeah, Sona is really strong. The reason why I've been playing Nami and Sona is because they're champions that can heal your team and provide utility for them. They and have lane dominance, so we can slow them also. Draven, yeah, like I said, this enemy bot lane is stupid. But Nami and Sona can slow enemy champions, can stun them. They can speed up allies. They can heal allies. And they have some decent harass and landing phase, Sona more than Nami. So yeah, I've been playing them, and it's been working out pretty well. It works. I feel like they work better than other supports, just because they have a lot more presence in team fights. They can survive a lot better against like a lot of these like assassin or just heavy burst champions that are running around in the meta right now. And they have much better ways of dealing with them in general. And yeah, so yeah. Solo queue in general, just by the way, is just really, it's just tough on the support just because of the fact that if your team just kind of starts doing bad, there's really nothing you can do about it. Like I said, a lot of my games are decided by what goes on in top and mid and the jungle interacting with those lanes. A lot of my games are decided by that, so there's not really much I can do. Plus, a lot of times my bot laner is generally completely useless. I'm gonna be just straight honest. They're generally completely useless, so yeah. So if you're gonna play support in solo queue, I highly recommend that you just duo with somebody, and that's what I would be doing. But my friend that I normally duo with hasn't been on lately. He's been away, so I've been forced to play by myself, and it's rough. But I'm doing decently enough. This Draven is being an idiot. I'm doing decently enough. The main thing I feel like is don't worry so much about your lane. If you feel like your if your bot laner is an idiot, then just really don't worry about him. Focus more on everybody else. Look to see like if your jungler is winning, or if like you've got like a assassin mid lane if that's winning. Like look to see if they're winning and focus on helping them more so than your bot laner once the laning phase is over. And make sure you're looking to like roam a lot, especially if your bot laner sucks, because it's better to try to get an advantage in mid lane if you know that you're really not going to be able to get much in bot lane. So, you'll notice that I am taking exhaust over ignite. A lot of times or in the past, I've been thinking that taking ignite was super necessary to help win laning phase. And that was true, but as the meta has started to shift into more bursts, and as I've changed what like champions I feel like are necessary to have the highest impact in the game, I'm starting to like exhaust more and more. Exhaust is good against champions with a lot of burst, and which is kind of what this meta is right now. Anybody that wants to just throw out a lot of stuff at once at the start of a fight, you exhaust them, they do a whole lot less damage, and now they have a lot of stuff on cooldown. And it works out really well, especially on especially on supports that can like heal and whatnot and have utility. It works out because you can reposition yourself really fast, and there might be backup coming for you or whatnot that you can speed on in or something. It works out very well. And the damage, I haven't really like cared much about losing the damage from ignite when I've been playing these mage supports, because oftentimes I'm not in range to get an ignite down in team fights or in just the lane in general. A lot of times I'm sitting back and whatnot, like, you know, I can sit back out of range and just poke and whatnot, and it works out pretty well. Right here, I ignite exhaust Hecarim in an attempt to get Swain out, but Swain doesn't flash because he's an idiot. But it is what it is. If you go back to the very beginning of the game, where we had a level 2 fight, I exhausted the Draven, so he did a whole lot less damage to Swain, and I was able to kind of chase him down and get a few more auto attacks in, which worked out pretty well. So I think exhaust just works very well, especially on Sona more than other supports. Exhaust works out pretty well, just for the fact that it's just harder to get an ignite down on somebody, and an exhaust is something that you're going to more than likely use on somebody that jumps on top of you. So yeah. The other thing that you'll notice I'm going to talk about is going to be the fact that I have Ghost Poro. So this patch, Zombie Ward and Ghost Poro got reworked kind of. Zombie Ward now gives 30 to 90 damage based on level. After you clear an enemy ward, they'll give you that damage on your next like attack or something. And Zombie Ward no longer leaves a Zombie Ward off of friendly wards of yours that expire. This, I think, makes it so that zombie ward is a lot less, uh, a lot less. Uh, I want to say, wantable, but a lot less desired and wanted by support. A zombie ward was something that was really useful on support, just because you put down a lot of wards in general, and a lot of times, the enemy wasn't going to clear all of them, and so you could have extra vision around the map. However, because of how they've changed it now, it's not all that great. It's still useful, but I feel like Zombie Ward is just not as strong. I feel like it's maybe a little bit better on junglers now than it is on supports. But for the most part, I wouldn't recommend it. Instead, I would recommend that if you're going to want to go into the domination tree, I would recommend that you take Ghost Poro instead. I've been running Ghost Poro since for pretty much all my games when I've been taking domination for this patch, and I found that it works really, really well. So Ghost Poro is now something that you can choose when to put down or not, and the ability to do that over it just being something that just goes down by default makes a very, very big difference. And they also made it so that you can they made it so that if you put it down in enemy territory, it gives you extra AP. But the stats that you get from it are like negligible to the point where it doesn't really matter. You'll see that when I do try to put it in enemy territory, but for the most part, you'll see me just putting it down in a bunch of just different places where I would normally want to ward, and that's kind of how I use Ghost Poro. Ghost Poro I use as a second ward. Ghost Poro is gonna stay there for 5 minutes until somebody walks through it, and when somebody does walk through it, it's gonna ping on the map for me. So I don't even have to pay attention to the map necessarily for wherever that my Poro is. Wherever my Poro is, the game is gonna ping for me, and I'm always listening out for pings from my team. So when it pings that someone's cleared the Poro, I can see, okay, that was the jungler, and I know that I put it in the river or something like that. So I know that I should back off now and whatnot, and I just use Ghost Poro as another ward. And once somebody clears it, it's only on a 60-second cooldown, which is nowhere close to what your ward timer is. And yeah, I think it's a really it's a very useful tool of just having a second ward. Granted, this might not work exactly that well against teams that they notice that you have Ghost Poro, so they start walking into bushes a bit more. If they notice that, then it can be a little bit more challenging. Just because it is very easy to get rid of a Ghost Poro, you just have to walk into the bush. But I think for the most part in solo queue, people aren't going to notice that. People aren't really going to try to be proactive about getting rid of a Ghost Poro. And it's just going to be another way of having extra vision on the map. Especially in the early parts of the game, having 2 wards instead of 1 can make a very big difference. And you can put it, a lot of times I'll put it down at one of the jungle entrances at the start of the game, so that way we'll know if the jungler tries to invade, or a lot of times I'll put it down over at this bush. I'm sitting on top of it right now. I don't think my cursor's showing up on OBS, but I'll put it down here, and that way if the jungler tries to do an early gank or something, just a gank in the first 5 minutes of the game, coming through the back side of the river here, trying to come around and get our mid laner, the mid laner will be able to see that. Or if he tries to come in and check to see if the blue buff is there, or take something elsewhere on the map, we'll be able to see if he comes in through there. So it's very useful in that regard. When it comes to like mid game and late game with Ghost Core, it's kind of whatever. If you are ahead, it will give you that extra damage. But like I said, the damage that you get from it is pretty negligible. Like an extra 5 AP at the start is kind of a big deal, but an extra, it'd probably be about an extra like 12 AP mid game probably is gonna make a whole lot of difference, especially on a support that doesn't have high AP ratios. It's not really gonna make that big of a deal. But yeah, so working out pretty well. A lot of times I do go into the domination tree for my secondary tree for the extra damage, and for the fact that in the domination tree I can also get Relentless Hunter, which means that Relentless Hunter is just out of combat move speed, which can be extremely useful for roaming on the map as support, which is something I do quite often, and it means that I don't necessarily have to get Moby Boots every time I play support if I want to be roaming around a lot. Especially on mage supports, who I might want like Lucidity Boots on. It's very useful to have that, and if I do get Moby Boots, a lot of times I'll have, it'll be a support that can already speed boost themselves, like Sona has for E, plus Mobies, and plus Relentless Hunter. You move around the map ridiculously fast, and yeah. This game I ended up going Lucidity Boots just because there wasn't really much point in roaming around the map anymore. And Lucidity Boots is just useful for just cooldowns and having access to summer spells more often. It's just something that I take a lot on my mage supports. I also do this on like Zyra. Now I used to run Moby Boots on Zyra a lot just for the ability to be able to kind of position myself really fast to get a better, just get into a better position to poke, not so much for like roaming in general, but I've noticed that it makes me very susceptible in team fights having Moby Boots on these like squishy mage supports, because I'll get an attack off and my Moby Boots will get cancelled, and a lot of times, you know, like on Brandon, Zyra, and sometimes Fiddle, you'll have a Leandries, or you'll just be doing you'll be doing damage over time in general. So Moby Boots won't come back up for a while. So if you're trying to like just poke and like sit on the edge of the fight, that's going to be really difficult for you to position properly with the in combat move speed of Moby Boots. So sometimes I will just opt for Swifties instead, and having Relentless Hunter means that like having Swifties over Moby Boots isn't that big of a deal. And Swifties, you know, is just fast in general. Obviously not as fast as Moby Boots, but having swiftness boots makes it a lot easier to position as a support in the middle of team fights, and it allows you to get away with like having Rylai's and not worrying about like if I use this ability and I've got Rylai's, I'm going to slow them. However, I'm also going to be slowed because I have Moby Boots and I'll be in combat, and because of that, might be able to catch back up. If you got Swiftness Boots, you don't have to worry about that. So, there's something to keep in mind, that Moby Boots isn't everything, especially on mage supports.
Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
And yeah, that's pretty much going to be it, so I'm going to just start speeding it up here. So yeah, lately I've been having League just hasn't been a whole lot of fun lately. And playing support is just a real hassle, just because like I see a lot of times like my bot laner just sucks or whatnot, and I'm like, I can play bot lane better than this. Like I might not be able to farm as well as what you're doing, but I at least wouldn't be dying like in I can play the role better and like not feed and whatnot and make it so that it's a lot easier to win the game. Like I'd survive laning phase at the very least and be able to be useful. So I hate it when stuff like that happens. Just because especially like there's nothing you can do about having a bad bot laner. Like if he's bad, and that's just kind of it. And there's literally nothing you can do when you're mid and top or jungle feed. It's just the game is just over, and you gotta just move on. You gotta just accept that you're playing support, and you can't solo carry the game. And that's why I say that you really need to do OQ if you want to like climb fast as support, because it doesn't matter how good you are as support. Half the time, the game feels like a toss-up. So that's it. That's why I'm trying to like find supports that like can work well, even when like your team starts to do bad. And it's very difficult. Aside from that, I know I haven't been putting a lot of League content lately on my channel, but I have been streaming League. So if you want to watch me play, then you can catch me on Twitch, twitch.tv/CW5136. I'll put the link in the description. But you can catch me on there. I kind of stream at random times right now, mostly during the evenings. You'll catch me playing League of Legends and Fortnite. But yeah, right now I don't have an actual schedule. I will start streaming on a normal basis. I will have a schedule up, not this coming week, but the week after. So let me, what date is that? So I'm recording this on 20th, so not the week of the 23rd, but the week of the 30th is when I will have an actual schedule for streaming. The week of the 23rd, I do want to start streaming on a regular basis. However, for that week, I have jury duty for the entire week until they say I don't have to go there anymore. I still do have to technically call in that Sunday beforehand to see if I still have to go in, but more than likely I'm going to have to go in. More than likely it's going to be for most of the week, and it's going to be like 8 to 5, and it's like an hour drive over to the courthouse for me. So I'm not going to be home until 6. I'm going to be hungry. I'm going to be tired. So in some days I'm going to be let out early and whatnot. So I want to start having a normal schedule this coming week, but obviously that's going to prevent me from doing that. So I won't have an official schedule until the week of the 30th. So until pretty much August. Once August starts, I'll have a normal schedule, and I will have that posted on my Twitch, and I'll have that posted on my YouTube, what my schedule will be. So yeah, thanks guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. I did talk about a lot of different things in this video. And yeah, thank you for all of the people that are subscribed to me and support me. I don't talk about it often, but it does mean a lot to me when I see people comment on my videos saying, dude, this helped me a lot. Thanks for the video, man. Really enjoyed this. I love seeing that. And it reminds me like I wanted to do YouTube for a reason, and it feels nice. It's a nice reminder, because a lot of times I do forget all of that. So thank you all for watching. I'll see you all next time.